Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's February 4th, 2023, and it's cold. I keep saying it. You keep watching. If you're watching every day, you know how cold it is. It feels like minus 42 outside with the wind chill. Last night I got up in the middle of the night, check on things just to make sure the heat pumps were working. It was minus 47 with the wind chill. And so I turned on some baseboard heaters in order to make sure that nothing froze and that the house stayed nice and warm, especially for Polo upstairs. He needs a warm space, but everything's good. We're inside and not a problem there. We will have to go out a little bit later today, so we will bundle up. We'll make sure that the vehicle is nicely warmed up for us when we get there, and well, before we get there, and we'll have to do the same on our return trip. And then tomorrow should be back to a normal type temperature. It's just a 24, 36 hour cold dip, Arctic freeze, whatever you want to call it. We haven't had this cold of a temperature here in a very long time. So it is very strange. It's the sort of thing you make sure you're bundled up because within minutes you can get frostbite on anything that's exposed if you're outside. So you gotta be careful. And so anyone else who happens to be in the Maritimes experiencing this right now, be careful, or on the eastern seaboard of the U.S., they're feeling some of it too. So yeah, stay warm, stay safe, and be bundled up. All right, let's get to today. We finally made it. It is week 52 of That Dad Guy Answers, which means we've been doing this for a year, every Saturday, answering your questions. And no different today in the fact that I'm going to answer the questions that you guys gave me, and we're still going to ask for questions going on to next week, but we're going to have a twist to it today. I'm going to ask you guys a question at the end of this video, and I'm going to explain all about it, what I want to see in return, yeah, we're going to have some fun, have a little bit more of participation. Yeah, we get participation by you guys asking questions. I get to answer them, but this time I'm going to get to see some of your answers to my questions, which is going to make it even more fun and hopefully more informative for you guys. It'll be a new format. Yeah, so let's get to the questions that I have right now from you guys. The first one comes from Amber in the US. He says, how did you get into post-crossing? All right, this is a story I have told before, but not for a long time, so if you're new to the channel, you probably have never heard it. Back in April 2021 is when I started post-crossing. So just prior to that, maybe March, I had to go off work because I had plantar fasciitis, which meant it was very painful to walk around on. So I was off work for a couple months, and I really couldn't be on my feet, so I wasn't quite sure what I should do. So I got back into making YouTube videos. Put them out every day. What I was doing, I was reading children's books, so books that my kids really enjoyed when they were little. I thought maybe other people might enjoy them too. So I started reading those every day, putting out a new children's story. So if you go back in my catalog, you're going to see children's stories. And then while I was doing that, I had a friend from the post office who said that she was doing post-crossing. I think at that time she posted that she just received her 100th card. So I inquired what it was. And so she told me all about it. So I figured, well, yeah, let's give it a shot, give it a try. And if I was going to start something new, I might as well make a YouTube video about it. So I made a video about how you got into post-crossing, and then maybe the first couple postcards that I was sending. And then when I started receiving them, I started making videos about it, and it just went from there. And then my channel became more about post-crossing while I was off on disability, or whatever you want to call it, for those couple months that I was off. And then the channel has evolved from there. So I did post-crossing, I did the stamps, I started showing the Lego that I was doing. When my foot was better, I wanted to be more back into nature and getting more adventures, so I started doing hikes and places that I was going to, and that's where we've come to now. So that's how I got into post-crossing. A friend from the post office who was already doing it told me about it, and I thought I'd give it a try, and I've been hooked ever since. So thanks, Amber. All right, the next question I have comes from Basil in India. He says, how do you intend to celebrate Valentine's Day, and which has been your favorite? Kindly elaborate. So how do I intend to celebrate Valentine's Day? Well, Valentine's Day is also my wife's birthday, so it's kind of a catch-22 there. There's always something going on. So we try to do something, whether it's a meal that I make for her that she requests, or if we can go and get something, we do that. There have been years where the finances have been pretty lean, and on Valentine's Day, things get really expensive, so sometimes we have to celebrate either a couple days before or a couple days after. Depends on when Valentine's Day also falls during the week. If it's, Monday to Thursday, those are all work nights, so we don't tend to go out too much. The 14th this time is a Tuesday, so probably would celebrate either on the Saturday the 11th, or maybe even Saturday the 18th or Friday. You look at the closest weekend that you can go out and do something and have some nice meal. That's kind of what we do, which has been my favorite Valentine's Day. Probably the most elaborate Valentine's Day have been the ones prior to kids. It's easier to say that, is that we didn't have those responsibilities. We weren't going to basketball games in the evening, or going to musical theater. We weren't worried about school nights or kids getting to bed earlier. When it was just the two of us, we could go do our own thing and be out. And so those kind of are the most memorable, favorable in the past. Not to say that what's going on now are any less special, but in the end, the day of Valentine's Day, take aside that it's my wife's birthday, is that we never really for one day where you've got to be extra super romantic. That's not us. Not to be forced to do it on that day, and the day that's they jack up the prices for meals for two people and try to do things like that. So be romantic when you can be romantic, and that's probably the best policy. All right, thanks, Basil. Hopefully that answered that. The next question comes from Wendy in Canada, and she says, did you do the Lego camel yet? I didn't see it. All right, well, I never put the Lego or the brick building camel on site or on a video. It did get built. This was a gift that came from Lewis in Dubai. It's not Lego, but it's Lego-ish or Lego-esque. So it's just a brick thing. So yeah, it's kind of a cool camel with the rider. So it did get built, and there it is. All right, the next question comes from Miss Plume, who is from Canada, and she says, what time in history would you like to live for some days to share the daily life of those who were there, instead of just believing what historians say, and why? It's a great thought-provoking question. What period of history would I like to live in? There are a lot of factors that go into play in that. Am I like myself now? Do I have the same economic standing that I am? Am I still Caucasian? Am I still male? Going back in history when things have changed, let's go back to Shakespearean times. There are a lot of developments going on in the art world, and everything that's going around, but socioeconomically, very poor, a lot of class systems, and where I might fall in that may not give me the best life experience. I'm probably not going to be a nobleman, so I'm not going to have the best of everything, and not to have running water in some places, not the best, not very clean. People didn't live as long. To say I want to go back to, say, the 60s, the roaring 60s or the roaring 50s, they called them. Maybe they said the hippie movement and the free love and all the things that were going on in the uprising, great. But if I wasn't a white male, if I was female, or whether I was a minority, sometimes not the best times for them either at that period. I think every time we look at a point in history, there are some amazing things that have come out of it. Renaissance period, maybe you want to go back and see when the Great Wall was being created, or the pyramids were created. If you do those things, there are other sides, the darker sides, that are happening at the exact same time that you could be experiencing. So that is the catch-22, I think, with traveling through history. If you had the ability to do so, there are certain people that you'd like to meet. Like, I had a great question posed to me. It said, if you could have a meal with one person that is now dead to talk to, who would it be? As someone who doesn't know that, if you said, yeah, I want to go back and talk to Albert Einstein, well, I don't speak his language, first of all. And if I had a stranger me come up to Albert Einstein and ask him questions, what would be his response? I know my response if a stranger came up to me and asked me something, you know, personal about my life or my experience, I'd be like, how do you know that? So people always think that if you were just to sit down with a meal with someone, it would just be super cohesive. It's not the same as if you're sitting down with one of your friends or your family and having that. That's how I see it anyways, or a take on it. So yeah, I get the idea of the question. What do you want to go back and see firsthand? What experience could you be? I don't know. There's lots of things. I missed the first moon landing, you know, watching it on television. I wasn't around at that period of time. That people say is exciting. The end of Second World War, the elation that people felt that had happened at that time. A moment in history that you want to celebrate, but there are other things that are going on around that aren't great either. So I don't know if it answers the question or just brings up more questions. Maybe this is a type of question that I should be asking to you guys in the future. Who knows? I like hearing these great questions. So thanks, Miss Plume, for that question. Hopefully I answered it some way. All right. The next and the last question I have comes from Eric in Canada, and he says, do you have a favorite brother? And I have one brother, and I guess he's my favorite, but I like all my brothers all the same. So no matter how many brothers I have, they're all fantastic, and they support me in what I'm doing with YouTube, so I appreciate that too. So Eric, thanks for the question, and yeah, my brother's great. Thanks. All right, those are all my questions. I think everybody else is just asking questions about, or statements about wanting to hear the new format and get involved, which I hope everybody will be. So what I am asking, let's get into that. I'm gonna have one question per month. First Saturday in the month, I'm gonna pose the question, and then the following first Saturday in the next month, I will answer, or I'll read all the postcards that I get. So what I'm going to ask is one question, and I'm going to get you guys to write on a standard postcard, put your number. So this week, I'm going to ask you question number 1. So I'm going to get you to put a 1 in the circle up here, and then probably the date of when you sent your postcard, and then the answer to your postcard. You don't have to put a lot of washi tape and stickers and stuff, because I know an answer to a question might take more space. So it doesn't have to be super fancy, the card that you send. The style card that you send does not necessarily have to match the question. If it does, it's great. I'm going to tell you the question I have right now for this month. The month of February, question number 1 is going to be, what thing in your area would you highly recommend a tourist to see if they can only visit one thing, and why? So that is my question. I'm going to leave the question in the description of the video too, so you don't either have to keep rewinding to hear it, or if you just want to refer back to it. So what thing in your area would you highly recommend a tourist to see if they can only visit one thing, and why? That's question number 1. So on the postcard, you might have a postcard of that tourist thing that you want people to see. That would be great. It would help explain what it is. If you say, I've got a giant rock in my city that everyone believes was the first rock ever created, and you had a postcard of such rock, then yeah, it would go together. But if you don't, just send whatever postcard you want to send. I'm going to read the answer on the back. I'm going to read, it's question 1. You're going to have a 1 here, so I'm going to know it goes with this question. So should your postcard take a while to get here, because we have people from all around the world that are watching and hopefully will be participating, and I'm hoping a month will be enough to get all the postcards here. But maybe someone has taken a while either to send the postcard, maybe didn't see the video right away and still wanted to participate. If it should arrive in March sometime when question 2 is already out and I see a 1, I will know that it goes to this question. So I'll be able to attach them all together. And then all the postcards that I get, I will read all the answers at the first of the next month before asking the new question. So the first day of the month is always going to be a question more about what I'm going to ask you, and what your responses to the previous month's question were. Hopefully that's not too confusing. The rest of the Saturdays are going to be the same format. You ask me a question, I'll answer them, but I'm going to hold off the first of the month ones to answering these questions. Do you like it? Are you going to participate? I hope you are. I know there's tons of people out there that are watching from all over the world, and it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, this week or this month, what sort of touristy things are in your area. Also explain where you're from. So if you have a card here, you put your 1 at the top, you put the date, and then you say the thing that I want to see should be is a rock. I'm in the small village in Germany. This is the name of the town that I'm from, just so we kind of have an idea. Make sure you write clearly so I can read it, because I don't want anything get messed up. Make sure you put your name on the bottom. You don't have to put your whole name and all your details. I don't want everybody to know that stuff if you don't want them to know it. But if you say my name is Rob, I'm from Berlin, Germany. You have that there. The thing that I want you to see is the Brandenburg Gate. So there's an example of something tourists might want to see. If they only could get to see one thing in your town, they go to Berlin, they're going to see the Brandenburg Gate, and Rob lives there. That way I can give you credit for where you live, and people will know, and I can start to get to know where people are. And then I'm going to get a binder bigger than this one, and I'm going to put all the cards in it. I'm going to put them all in question order so we can go back and look at it, and maybe I'm going to have certain ones in the future that I can focus on and go back and reminisce about. I think that's going to be fun. So I hope you guys will participate. I hope you guys are interested in it. Leave me your comments in the comments of this one, but also don't forget to leave me your questions for next week, because next week is going to be a standard part 53 of That Dad Guy Answers. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. It was a suggestion a couple weeks ago by Lila from the US, and I'm jumping right on it because I think it's a fantastic suggestion, and the response I've been getting from people, I think other people are looking forward to do it too. Even just looking at the comments from last week, there are 3 or 4 comments that didn't leave questions, just said they were looking forward to this format. So that's what we're going to do. I will review the questions, or maybe put the questions again through the description of every video within the month, so people can look at it and go and say, oh, I forgot to send a postcard with my answer to it. They still will have an opportunity. All right, that's what I've got for today. Excited about where things are going, and look forward to the first postcards that start to show up with answers to my question. So have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.